This podcast is sponsored by Skylight Frame. If you're looking for a great holiday gift, there is nothing more meaningful than a Skylight digital picture frame. Skylight is a touchscreen frame that everyone in the family can send photos to from anywhere, and they'll pop up in seconds. It is the perfect gift for new families, parents, and grandparents, or anyone who has all of their photos stuck on their phone. With Skylight, you can actually preload photos before you give it as a gift, without even opening the box. Once it's unwrapped and plugged in, the frame will light up with all those special memories. Surprise your loved ones this year with a beautiful Skylight frame, now available in multiple sizes and colors. Grab yours today because they're very popular and sell out around the holidays. For a limited time, you can get $15 off your purchase when you go to skylightframe.com/Mary. That's right. To get $15 off your Skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com/Mary. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/Mary.
Grandma, can I have the chocolate chips?
This secret recipe moment made possible by Emory Heart and Vascular Center. When Grandma needed heart care, she came to Emory. The difference? Emory Healthcare performs more heart procedures annually than anyone else in Georgia, which means better outcomes for our patients. And we offer advanced and personalized treatments developed by our top specialists that others don't. Like Grandma knows, where you start your heart care matters. Smart Cookie. EmoryHealthcare.org/smartcookie.
A choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a rock.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expanding reality. A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality.
Welcome to Expanding Reality. I'm your host, Brandon Thomas. This week, Gods and Goddesses, we have the pleasure of sitting down with Jo Seebacher. She is an energy master. She's been a human rights advocate and activist for over 35 years in trauma and abuse, including domestic violence. She teaches people how to transform their entire lives, from traumatized to triumphant, from broken to brilliant, from rags to riches, from fearful to motherfucking fierce. She is the spiritual badass on YouTube. You guys definitely check her videos out. We have an awesome discussion today about astrology, mysticism. She talks about her 5 NDEs that she's had, her 5 near-death experiences. It's awesome. We have an awesome conversation. She is an absolute delight to talk to. You guys will love her videos. Definitely check her out on the YouTube there. And here she is. Well, today on the show, we have Jo Seebacher. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you, you spiritual badass. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for having me on the show. It's great to meet you face to face.
I know, it is. Yes, we've been corresponding a little bit through the Messenger app there, and just really looking forward to speaking with you. You've got a phenomenal story. You currently do some incredible things. You have a wonderful YouTube channel that I highly encourage everybody to check out. I will be linking that in the show notes for folks just to click right on down under the episode here, and you can go straight to it. Really looking forward to our conversation today. Can't thank you enough for your time. So, it doesn't look like your usual background. Where are we doing this from for you?
I'm in Lilydale, New York. It's the home of the most famous psychics and mediums of the world, and filming in a hotel room right now.
Awesome. Is it a nice one? Did they set you up right?
Oh, yeah. I'm in a beautiful hotel room. I'm here till tomorrow, and then I'm going to head back home. I was going to stay an extra day, but it's a little too electric here. Really electric in this area right now. I think I'm right on a ley line.
Oh, wow. So what do you mean by electric? How is that?
Well, for me, because I'm a super psychic, I'm a trained psychic called a psychic puller. I pull in negative energy, secrets, and lies of people. So when I go into a ley line area, I just, look, my hair's even standing up. Can you see my goosebumps?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
it's very magnetic and electric, and it's almost like you're in a vortex, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's just a real intense energy.
Yeah.
That you're able to perceive on a different level. Probably some people can perceive that, but not as probably intensely as you do, because you are, like you said, a spiritual badass. You've got it all covered.
Super sensitive.
Yes.
Very sensitive to energy. I've been seeing energy since I've been a 3-year-old. So.
Jesus. Well, we are definitely going to get into your background. I want to know just everything about you, and I know my audience is excited to hear about you. I've been talking to a few of my friends about you. They've all looked up your videos. They're all like, when are you going to talk to JoJo? I'm like, it's coming up. It's coming up. So this has been one that people have been waiting for. So I'm excited to speak with you.
I'm honored. Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't you tell my audience here a little bit about yourself? Like I said, very excited to speak with you today. So just in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an energy master, and I teach people how to transform their entire lives, from traumatized to triumphant, broken to brilliant, rags to riches, and fearful to motherfucking fierce. I've lived an extraordinary life, Brandon. I've lived an extraordinary life of trauma and abuse, unfortunately. And I've been abused for being abused. I've been silenced for being abused, for trying to speak about it. And I've been a human rights advocate studying human behavior for the last 35 plus years. So
incredible. And trauma does, it's that thing about life, what do the Buddhists say about suffering, and that it's what life is. And it kind of, you could tell the true mark of somebody who's been through something remarkable is a remarkable individual. That's your mark. You can tell that you've been through a lot. You can tell that you have suffered some trauma. And I hate to hear that, especially, I know it probably went back for a long time there for you. But today, though, I want to show everybody who you are, because you do some incredible stuff. Like I said, your videos are fantastic. Please check out our YouTube channel, The Spiritual Badass, of course. Confessingly, I am very, very curious about astrology, about everything going on right now with, especially this is a big time to have this conversation. We're balls deep in the middle of Mercury being in retrograde, which I know very little about. I know its effects, but I don't know why it does that. So I want to ask you about that, as well as tarot, astrology. I just know nothing about it, and I'm extremely curious about it. And I knew that I had to go to the expert, the one to talk to about this. So let's break this down a little bit. So tell me about astrology. How did you get into that? What started you there?
Well, I had 3 near-death experiences from a violent relationship back in 2018. And on October 11th, I vowed that I was going to prove everybody wrong what they were accusing me of. It started out for all the wrong reasons. And following astrology since 2011 with my astrologer, the Leo King. And I decided to commit myself to learning astrology. And what had happened was it fit so well with the human behavior and communicative skills that I teach. And it helped me to understand my own life and my own struggles a whole lot better and heal a whole lot more than being kind of stuck on that hamster wheel of everything I've tried in the last 40-something years of healing trauma. So it was kind of like the icing on the cake that made the most sense. And I began studying it and taking classes in 2019 and was preparing. I knew a plague was coming. And so I vowed to start learning it. And by 2020, we had the most extraordinary astrology that no one had seen on the planet. So it was like a hell of a year to even attempt to learn it. And I call myself a faux astrologer, all right?
That's a faux astrologer? Like a fake? Okay.
Yeah, I like to make up words. I study etymology. I love all the esoteric sciences like etymology, gematria, numerology, tarot, astrology, and hermetics, and all that. So it was just kind of like it was meant to be. And it's aged me so well to understand human behavior a whole lot more, to understand the behavior of society, the patterns in current events, and being able to predict future events based on past historical events. So you can calculate now how the collective is going to behave and even think.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, because a lot of people, and there's some naysayers out there, which I'm not one of. I don't feel like I have the right to do that. And that's fine if people want to believe the way that they believe. But on this show, Expanding Reality, we like to tell folks about all kinds of cool stuff that they can engage in a new thought experiment with and just explore a little bit. So what's interesting, though, is all the naysayers of this kind of stuff, there's a saying that, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but that millionaires believe in astronomy, billionaires believe in astrology. And so billionaires, people that are making that money and make moves on specific times, they think it's legit. So, to all the naysayers out there, you don't have to defend the title. I just think that it's an interesting correlation between the fact that the people who are the ultra, ultra rich, not even super rich, just ultra, ultra rich, unfathomably wealthy, those people subscribe to what you do as far as astrology. And if they're interested in it, there's got to be something to it. And I also think that you handling your trauma in the way that you did, you could have done that in any kind of other destructive methods, as far as alcohol, as far as drugs, things like that. You went about it more of a spiritual path. And I find that fascinating. I find that very interesting. And I think that's wonderful.
We can go a step further with astrology. So every single president in office since beginning till now, they all have personal astrologers.
Really?
All of them. Yes, as well as astrology is as old as astronomy. It's the oldest science on the planet. And weathermen use it, billionaires use it, presidents use it, and it's a fascinating. Historians use it, so it can actually tell us of our history. Planets run in cycles, and just like Mother Nature, right? We've got 4 seasons. We've got the way the moon waxes and wanes. They all run in cycles and orbits in certain numbers of days, and they all have different qualities and energetics to it. And each planet will represent parts of the body, cell salts in your body. There's something called astrotheology. And astrotheology is found in the Bible. It's found in your human physiology. So astrology is really the oldest science, and it's hand in hand with astronomy.
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned the Bible as well, because some folks say that all the Bible is a big astronomical metaphor for like the birth of Christ, the death after 3 days, which is really the sun. And people break down those kind of concepts, and I find them fascinating. It's very compelling, especially when the Magi or the 3 wise men, those were magic practicing practitioners. They were the founders of it, right? That kind of a study. So I think all of it ties in. I can't wait to dive into this stuff with you. So what is the deal with Mercury in retrograde? You hear everybody say it. I have found myself, now that I'm aware of it, it may have affected me before, and it was just something I didn't know. But now that I know it, I know when it comes up. And it's funny, too, because my wife will kind of give me a buffer. If some stuff starts happening or whatever, she won't tell me right away until I ask. And I don't usually look this thing up. So I'll go, damn it, is Mercury in retrograde? She's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, see, I knew it, because like electronics don't work. Communication is off. And we are very communicative, my wife and I. And whenever we get into Mercury in retrograde, we'll just go, hang on. It's just Mercury in retrograde. And it's become kind of this silly thing. But what is that all about? Why is it the way that it is?
It's an overblown thing because all of the planets retrograde, not just Mercury. All of them do. And they all represent a certain part of the individual. So Mercury runs your speech, communication, electronics, travel, collaboration, and a retrograde, an RE, retrograde, asks you to rewind, to reevaluate, reanalyze, reassess, restructure. So you can kind of, step back and replan to grow further, to become better communicatively, or with new plans, new travel, new things like that. It's not just Mercury, though. Mercury retrogrades about 3 times a year for 3 weeks or so. And Mercury has a pretty fast rotation, 88 days around the sun. So it retrogrades about 3 times a year for about 3 weeks. And it can cause mayhem depending on what other aspects are transiting. And we got some massive ones right now and massive ones from 2020.
So it is this dance. So everything affects everything else. So how did we figure this out as human beings?
You hire an astrologer and you work with them consistently because we can help you get the right business name, launch the right date, invest the right time, not put your material out certain days. So you work with a mentor.
Okay, and people can contact you directly for that. You do. That's what you do, and you do it well. So how did humanity, as early civilization, figure this out? How was this information gone about?
Well, the ancients, the Sumerians, the Mayans, the Egyptians, it's been passed down through culture to culture, right through, the Pythagoras, Greek, Roman days, and then into the Western world. We have the Vedics over in India, the Asian astrology or Chinese astrology. And by the way, we just started the Chinese New Year on the 11th, on February 11th. So, there's cultures all over the world that have been using astrology for thousands of years.
See, exactly. And it's that type of concept. And it's these old ancient, type of understandings that I think that we're not only have lost, but we need. There are a few folks out there like yourself still practicing and still bringing light and awareness to these types of subjects and their importance and their validity. There are, like I said, billionaires use this. And like you said, all the presidents use astrologer. I didn't know that. And there are specific times to do specific things. It'd be kind of hard to tell your boss, look, I can't, do this big presentation because my moon is in this house and for 3 days I can't do that. Or you're not going to get the best work ethic out of me. But that may have something to do with it, right?
Right. But you can utilize the energy. So let's say it's not a good day to communicate, but you have a presentation to make. So knowing that, you would just be more available, more ready, more prepared to give that presentation and work on certain points that the energy would be telling you to work on or stay away from. So maybe that person would want to reorganize their presentation, and it could take off beautifully, even in a day that's not necessarily great. But that's actually called electional astrology, and I'm still learning it, okay? I'm just a faux astrologer, so I might not be able to answer a lot of these questions, but I'll try as best as I can.
Like I said, you know way more than me. And so it's just a curiosity that I've got on a few specific things. And basically, with that type of... So what I'm hearing is with astrology, basically it's understanding to be able to know. It's almost like a precognition. It's you'll know what's going to occur, what things to focus on, what to stay away from, how to be aware of the energies around you and what the planets are doing and the moons are doing to make better decisions. Now, let me ask you this. So it has a lot to do with moons as well, correct?
The cycles of the moon are very important because the moon changes signs about every 3 days. So each of these 12 signs, 12 apostles, represents a certain kind of energy, a certain kind of characteristic, behavior, thinking, action, so on and so forth. The ancients used to call astrology like the knowledge to unlock the keys to being trapped in the matrix. So astrology is all about using energy, using chi or chi, C-H-I or K-I, chi. And chi is also another name for earth. And it's like a language of the stars, and it's like a tool. It helps you understand the blueprint of how you're made, how you think, what kind of experiences you're going to have, what kind of parents you're going to have, when you're going to get married, are you going to stay married? It tells you so much. It will be the keys to unlock your energy centers to have a more destined, fulfilling life, and to be able to also handle chaos and struggles a whole lot easier. So kind of like a roadmap to your life.
That's awesome. This stuff is so cool. I love this. So what is the deal with tarot? What is that? Tell me about some tarot.
Tarot is an ancient tool that's used to explain the progression of man and his journey from birth to death. And the cycle that is what's called an Ouroboros, a circular cycle. So it goes in cycles, just like the planets, just like the seasons, just like nature, and your journey as a human being from death to rebirth, back to death, back to rebirth. And it's just like a cyclic kind of journey. So you have, beginnings of careers and endings of careers, beginnings of relationships, endings of relationships. So it just goes in the same circular manner of death and rebirth. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You can still be reborn as the Fool card. The Fool is the 0. So it's like the infant. You're back to infant stage. What do you do as an infant? You're learning a new progression, a new cycle. And the 22 Arcanum teach you about each level of that cycle or circle. And the minor arcanum are all like the little details in between, all the little secrets, all the little joys, all the little people you're going to meet on the way, your deepest, darkest fears. It's really all about advising and counseling. A true tarot reader is somebody that counsels along with the reads and counsels at the same time. So we don't want to keep people in perpetual vulnerability or perpetual trauma. And we're here to teach you how to get out of your quandary. In fact, the client is called a query. The query asking a quandary question, a confusion in your life. So we want to teach you how to get out of the quandary, out of the confusion. And a lot of people do manipulate it. Sadly, they take advantage of vulnerable people, especially with love readings.
Yeah, and to just say it bluntly, there's assholes in every field, right? And there's people who don't do it for altruistic means, and there's people out there just looking to not only make a buck, but to steer people wrong with either false information or misinformation. It's kind of like, I'll go ahead and say it. It's kind of like doctors, right? They don't want to cure you. They want to treat you because they make more money off the treatment, not the cure. If they fix you, then you don't go back to them to pay them more money. Not all doctors are like that, of course. And of course, like in astrology, you're not like that either. So it almost sounds like tarot is a way does it reveal what's going on with you? And then you basically are given a roadmap to not only the traumas either that you're aware of or won't face, or the cycles that you're aware of or won't face. They're kind of really revealing. And they transcend speech, right? That they would transcend somebody going, no, that's not me at all. It's like, now here's what's going on. I can tell you how to fix it. And ultimately, it's your choice to either heed the advice or to perpetuate the cycle.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, most people don't generally take the advice of tarot, and they want to stay in perpetual pain. So a lot of my female clients will come and get a tarot reading, and they're particularly set on a certain guy, right? Certain guy that they want. And the guy is rejecting them or not paying attention or standing them up. And the girl is just, I can give a reading and my earpiece will go out. I can give a reading, and I use about 4 or 5 different decks so I can show the query, the same cards pulling out. I could pull numbers of the same identical cards and give a very negative reading. If, this will be what happens if you keep chasing this guy that keeps rejecting you. But if you choose this path, you can have a happily ever after. You can have this kind of person. You'll have those dreams, but it's just not that guy. And they will continue to ask the same thing. So I'll use 4 different spreads, and generally the cards are pretty identical. I mean, it just never fails. So the woman will rather ask that question, well, how can I get him to love me? How can I get him to pay attention? What can I do? And I don't work with women like that. So once I see that pattern, I ask them to get into what's called codependent recovery, because they're trauma bonded and addicted to toxic love. You don't want to ever chase a person that's rejecting you, right?
Yeah.
Or that you're finding yourself for. But some of my other clients, they do follow the advice and have broken trauma bonding, have broken codependency, and take consecutive classes with me to learn how to speak effectively, put boundaries up, and to achieve that ultimate dream, that ultimate partner, that long-lasting soulmate kind of energy. So it all depends on how deep you want to go. It's hard. This is hard work. Like, healing is hard work. And when you come to me, your first 3 months, you will fight everything I tell you to do. You will make excuses for why you can't do it. You're going to be terrified, and it's going to feel like shit. But if you can break through the first, there goes my goosebumps. Or if you could break through the first 3 months, then you're having breakthroughs instead of breakdowns. And it becomes a whole lot of fun, and you get this power back, and your mind clears. So you have to detox off of that. It's like a drug addiction. Toxic love is it's more addictive than heroin, to be quite honest. It's a painful detox. But as a drug addict, is a drug addict going to take advice from their counselor right away? No, they're going to make excuses. They're going to fight you. They're going to try to manipulate you. And if you're with a professional, we know every excuse in the book. So we find ways.
Especially with your background in behavioral psychology, right?
Well, I'm not a clinical psychologist, so let's get that straight right away. I did study at the Jungian Institute, but I studied through a friend who was a professor at the Jungian Institute in Maine. So I have a lot of psychology knowledge just from digging into, I've always loved to research. I've got a gigantic aquarium brain. I've been reading big books since I've been 8, but I'm not a clinical psychologist. I have just, I'm more of an advisor, I guess, to say safely, and I've got certifications for life coaching, spiritual counseling, drug addiction, suicide, grief counseling, all that kind of stuff. But I'm technically not a licensed psychotherapist whatsoever,
Right, but that avenue is on your radar. So you're very aware of people's behavior patterns, and you're very tuned into what people do, and you're able to apply that with astrology and tarot reading and life coaching to help folks through these things with a greater understanding of human behavior in general.
Yes, it's all based on human behavior. It truly is. And we have a very broken behavioral society. We have broken parents raising broken children, and those broken children grow up to be broken adults. And you just perpetuate these toxic, broken relationships. It's very rare that you're raised in a healthy environment. I mean, thank God it's getting better now, but, we're in a collective breakdown right now, Brandon, in the midst of a quarantine where we're seeing how broken society truly is. And it's been broken a long, long time.
Yeah, I think last year definitely shined some light on how thin the veil is between civilization and just complete breakdown. And do you think that, I don't know, do you think that that's something that was planned, or do you think that the pandemic, maybe some people took advantage of that and are working in their own agendas? You don't have to go political here. I'm just curious about what you think. Or is it all a cosmic thing, like it was destined to happen either way, like a big wake-up call for everybody?
Well, we've never seen astrology like this. We can go back hundreds and hundreds of years, and we've never seen the same alignments in the sky of the witch trials, the plague, the Civil War, Nazi Germany, and I can rattle off a ton of things, all in the sky at the same time. So I believe the universe has ordered this. We're out of balance here. We're out of balance on this planet, and because the planets do run behavior and energy and all, the actions of people on the planet, it's just played out that way, where the quote unquote elite are doing their part right to put the control. But I also bring up some very difficult topics about the collective being just as broken and damaged and narcissistic as the elite. So I think the heavens are just kind of ordered it. It's just magnetics. Our earth is out of balance with everyone, whether you're evil or good, or people saying they're good are just as narcissistic as the evil controllers. I'm living proof. I'm 55. I have been brutalized, chastised, and punished by the collective, even more so than my abusers in many ways, Brandon. I mean, I'm not, to a degree, yeah. Then it's a strain. And it's uncomfortable to hear that society does not know how to communicate. Empaths, light workers, new agers, truthers, they might be good on paper, they might be good on keyboards, but when you put them in a dynamic and you're faced off like you and your wife, right? You're face off with each other. It takes great bravery to call out somebody's behavior, husband and wife, right? There's a quote by J.K. Rowling, and she's a Harry Potter writer. And she says it takes great bravery to call out an enemy. So it's easy to call out an enemy. It's easy to call out some evil person. But it takes even greater bravery to call out your friend, to call out your lover, to call out your spouse, to call out your social media, to call out your family. And what you're met with is resistance, denial, defensiveness. And that's the problem. And it's just as narcissistically traded, not a disorder, but a trait that's prominent in society. No matter how love and light you are, the light workers are dangerous people with those narcissistic qualities.
Yeah, and what I like is my wife and I are very honest and open with each other, not only with each other, but with ourselves as well. We're able to be incredibly self-deprecating, and we're not perfect, no relationship is, but we do at least have a tick in the right box. We lean on the right side of the scale with our communication as far as if something's going on and I'm in my head too much or she's in hers too much or whatever, you can recognize that. And then we have a cute little thing we say to each other. We just look at each other and go, "Where'd you go, boo? Where'd you go?" And then it's like, I'm right here. And she's like, "No, I'm not here." And I'm like, "Where'd you go?" And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then we're able to open up and break down that barrier with a little bit of, adoration. And it works out well, not 100% of the time, but it's definitely more effective than just shutting it down completely and saying, "Okay, we'll just be on it." Because this is a partnership. It's a team thing. And so we're very important as far as our speech goes to each other. So what do you think then with all of this being ordered by the universe? And I don't necessarily disagree with the universe's assumption of this or assessment of this needing to be kind of a reset kind of thing. Do you think that this is we're all going to be ascending to the next level of consciousness, the 46 and 2 thing? Do you think that it is just the age of Aquarius? And I'm curious about that specifically. Or is this going to be just something that happens and then we fall back into the old ways? I mean, this is our opportunity as a collective to move forward, isn't it?
It should be. It's, I don't know how, okay, so this is a difficult thing to answer. The age of Aquarius is, the last time we had 4 planets and 2 luminaries, the sun and the moon are considered, some consider them planets, but the last time that we had 6 planets in Aquarius was in 1962, when we had the age of Aquarius. But these cycles run, it's so compounded in that answer, Brandon, specifically because of Saturn and Jupiter conjuncting. Saturn and Jupiter conjunct only every 200 years. So they've conjuncted from fire, water, earth, and then now into air. So it's every 200 years, from fire, then the next 200 years into water, and then into earth, and now into air. So it's an error of the air waves. We're in a technical kind of technology advancement. It is an awakening, but it's on a grand scale of, I don't even know how to answer that specifically, because it's not a la love thing. It's a 40-year build to start, let alone a 200-year process. So you follow each 200-year cycle when Saturn and Jupiter move. So we're in this age of Aquarius specifically now. That actually began January 12th of 2020, was the preset to the reset. And the reset started to begin on December 21st, 2020, when the planets conjuncted and then started going into Aquarius. In the Vedic system, the Indian astrology, they're still in Capricorn. So they don't consider this the age of Aquarius. They're still in Earth. We're in air, in the Western or tropical. So basically every 200 years, it brings new structure as it destructures things. It brings in new awareness, new innovations as it deconstructs old. But the two fight together in the very beginning. And each of these planets, like I say, have different cycles. So, they're builds. First 3 years is a build for Saturn. Yeah, Mercury, 88 days. So you're working with all of these energies. And this age of Aquarius is 200 years. So everybody who's been waiting for a new Earth, we're here. Welcome. Welcome. You're seeing what's broken in society. You're seeing what's wrong with governmente, right? With your neighbors, in your family, in your home, with judiciary system. This is the awakening. And it happens every 200 years. So, 200 years ago, they were pioneering, coming to on the Mayflower, for a brave new world. So, and then, it's just a destructure and a restructure every 200 years. If everybody wants to get into that like golden age, I guess, where, there's no evil and everything's fair and, you're all working with telepathy and you don't even have to use language anymore. I mean, you've got about
quite a while.
I don't know, 6,000 years maybe for that one.
So you're telling me there's a chance, huh? We can get there eventually, just not probably on this.
Well, I mean, we can already if we can, dimensionally travel in meditation, right? You can go there anytime you want to that perfect world in meditation.
And it is interesting on the different realities that we inhabit, because there are people here who believe in this stuff, who have shown that it actually works and it's effective. And then some people that just simply don't. And for them, that's just their life. And this is what's so beautiful about the experience on this plane. I just, whatever you want to call it, on this earth, on this plane, whatever, is that you have the opportunity to kind of play whatever game you want here. And that's kind of the best part about it. Now, a lot of your choices affect the global consciousness, which, that's not necessarily so good if you've got big problems and, you need to be dealt with. But I think that's also part of the balance and part of the duality that exists here. So what is your favorite part about astrology, just in general, just your favorite element of it?
Everything. I love when a certain aspect happens on a particular day and you can have an experience right at that moment. So like the moment Mars moved into Taurus, within minutes, the capital was stormed. I called it storming the Cappy in Cappy season. So as soon as Mars moved into Taurus, the capital got stormed with that Mars warlike Taurus bullheaded energy. The moment Mercury began to station and go retrograde, I had like 3 X's resurface, so you can peg certain experiences in your life with the alignment of the planet.
Damn, that's cool.
You can feel like if your body hurts, like if your back is cracking or something, it could be like Saturn is squaring, it's squaring parts of your chart. Maybe Saturn squaring your sun, or a certain aspect in your chart. You can tell, even if you break a tooth, it could be Saturn squaring something in your chart. So it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. This is why we're talking about that, because I love this. I don't know anything about it, but the more you talk about it, the more interesting it gets. And I've seen a ton of your videos. Like I said, I just sit there and watch. They're great. And like I said, I highly encourage people to go check out your YouTube. Again, it'll be linked in the show notes, but it is The Spiritual Badass on YouTube. So let me ask you this. What's the most advantageous time if you're going to take on a new relationship, if you're going to look for success in something you've been working on and waiting to launch? Let's say publishing a book or launching a new show of some sort, maybe a podcast, for instance. What is like the best time to do that?
Well, it would depend on your natal chart, what's called electional astrology, and then it would be based on the transits happening in the sky at the time. I'm not an expert in that yet. I can tell you during a Mercury retrograde is not a good time to launch any business. Mercury retrogrades are good to retweak your business, rewrite your syllabus, reorganize, replan things and launch it after the retrograde is over and Mercury goes direct. Relationships are funky. All right. 2021 is going to be a really hard year of forming healthy relationships because of just these alignments happening. And Venus is in a place she's extremely uncomfortable and detached in the energy. So detaching energy is hard to attach to healthy, right? There's certain things, like during a Venus retrograde, a woman never wants to cut her hair. It's just like,
How long does a Venus... Okay. How long does a Venus retrograde take?
It depends. I can't actually answer that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
I was asking.
I don't know the answer.
It's okay. I mean, I could Google that. I was just asking for the ladies out there. So if you got a little scruff going on, don't touch it. Just let it ride, right? Just wear hats.
Had a couple. All right. So coming into December of this year, we're going to have a Venus retrograde.
All right, ladies. So get your hair cut before then.
Yeah, well, get your hair cut before. Like even with Saturn, before Saturn conjuncted Jupiter, if you had any dental work or needed bone surgery or things like that, it would have been primed to do it 2020 rather than, during the progression of it moving in December. So Venus retrogrades it's terrible, really. Like it's terrible to meet somebody on a Venus retrograde. You might be able to have a relationship for a little while, a couple of years, but usually Venus retrograde relationships never last. Last.
And it's interesting because it sounds like based on the natal chart thing that you said, which again I know nothing about, that it sounds like your natal chart is specific to you, and things that happen with the moons and planets are specific to you based on that chart. But it sounds like there's also ubiquitous things that affect everybody or affect everything on a conscious level, right? Is that a correct assessment? Yeah.
So there's outer planets, the older planets like Uranus and Pluto. They run more of like the whole, the collective. And the closer planets run more of the personal things, but all of them do in fact affect you personally. So it's a hard question to answer. You can't really formate a logical answer that's concise because every natal chart is different. You could be born on the same day, the same time, but your natal chart will be completely different. If somebody's born on the West Coast versus somebody on the East Coast, you'll have completely different alignments. So there's no two natal charts.
Wow. Just so even twins don't have the same, because they're born a minute apart, right?
They're born, within, however minutes. Did you see that orb?
Yes.
Got another orb. Okay. So this happens a lot in my videos.
Damn, that's cool.
I've been around. Well, I've seen dead. I'm like the Sixth Sense kid. I see dead people. They're always around me. It took me till I was in my 20s to even drive a car because I see dead people and have this kind of stuff all the time.
Damn. Okay, so tell me about the orbs, and then I definitely want to go into your background. And thank you for the astrology breakdown. There's so many more questions I've got, but let's keep moving here. And we're definitely going to have you back on because I want to do some specific stuff with you at specific times of year whenever you find it valuable for us to get back together here. So what's the deal with the orbs? What does that represent? Because you hear people talk about it. What does that represent?
Well, for me, they're like ancestors or just spirits passing through. I'm in a big hotel in a very big area of psychics and mediums. So there's a lot of supernatural activity here. And I'm just a, walking supernatural kind of person. My daughter grew up with it. All her boyfriends were experienced it. It's just is a part of life. I can see it. And, it's being supernatural is exactly that. It's supernatural. It's natural to have these abilities, these skills. They're not gifts. They're just built in. And some people are just much more sensitive to it than others, or, can draw in certain energies more than others,
Yeah.
And I just happened to be that way. It just always has been. It was always normal to me. It was always normal to see dead people and some scary shit.
So was it something that when you grew up and then you realized maybe that not everybody can see what you can see? Was that an awareness you had to come to? Because you probably just assumed everybody had the same powers, right? Or the same abilities.
No, I grew up thinking I was the only person on the planet that was damned. I mean, I thought it was a damnation. I really did. It was horrifying, terrifying, isolating, and I grew up in a Roman Catholic environment. So even having negative dreams or these beings like Anubis and Boztet and Ptah coming to visit you when you're a child and you're screaming for mommy, you're getting punished for trying to explain, what just happened to you as a kid when you're just a kid. Who do you go to? You go to the parents for safety. So I was always chastised for it. Like I said in the beginning of the show, punished and abused for being punished and abused. So speaking out about anything like this was tumultuous in my era growing up. So even coming out of the psychic closet to even people in my high school, because I finally came out in high school. I did the come out like a gay person would come out of the closet. It was brutal, Brandon. It was torture, bullying. So it was not an easy life to be psychically supernatural at my age, let alone grow up in the 70s. We had it real hard. These kids had it much harder. There wasn't good family dynamics back then. It's still a hard life. It's extremely hard life. It's you grow to adapt to it, but when you grow up with demons and ghosts and dead people and energy grids, and you can't drive a car until you're in your mid-20s because you think somebody crossing the street is a real person when there's nobody there and your passenger seat thinks you're crazy. It was hard life.
So it's that vivid to you. You can actually see physical.
All the time. Yeah. My friends will even tell you if I'll be talking on the phone. And, it's just normal to me now. But growing up, it was terrifying. And more terrifying because you'd go to the adults for safety and you'd get punished for speaking about it.
Let me ask you a question. So have you ever seen more modern ghosts? Because that's a thing that everybody talks about, or spirits, is that you only see them from like the 1700s. You don't see some 17-year-old riding a skateboard across the street as a ghost.
I see them all different ages, all different eras. And some are like in time loops. So most of the ones that you see like from Civil War or certain eras are time loops. They just walk in the same loop, same pattern. But you can see, somebody that was, a child crying on the side of the road, doesn't know what's happened to her, and she's a, car accident victim from, 3 days ago. You name it, and also different locations.
Yeah.
So there goes my goosebumps. I say that every day too. Oh, I got goosebumps. And so if you go into, I live in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, so we have some pretty famous ghost hauntings there. We have Pocono ghost books and stuff. So if you go in certain restaurants that are from certain time eras, you can see, not everybody obviously, but, I'll see certain ghosts in long green Victorian style dresses because it's a Victorian style restaurant. So, but then I can also see, some Harley biker in the parking lot.
Damn.
At the same time,
So I would think you would see a ton of ghosts, because if you think about it, when mankind began, however we began, there was probably, not that many dead people around. You know what I mean? But now we've had billions and billions and billions of spirits cross over from this plane to the other one. So we've got probably a shitload of ghosts out there, right? Just because we've got a bunch more people that have lived and therefore died. So what do you think is the deal with the time loop thing? So I'm very curious about that. What's that all about?
So science has proven, I think, I don't know, around 10 years ago, they proved that there's at least 11 dimensions happening at the same time. So like, I'm in this hotel room, there could be like dinosaurs passing through, at the same time. We're all in these parallel dimensions. It's just, death is a really strange thing. You can't even answer that in a specific question. A time loop spirit is somebody that doesn't realize they're dead. They don't even realize they're in a time loop. They don't realize they're in the same loop. And it's just too big of a question I can't specifically answer. Why it happens, I don't know if we will ever know why that happens, why some ghosts work in a time loop and other ghosts are here because they've been murdered. That's a very famous one. There goes my goosebumps. And so, if somebody died young or was murdered, they have a message, or they can't, their spirit can't rest until there's some kind of restitution or that message comes out. It varies. It varies. It could be a dimensional being because that's very real. In the fringe community, we talk about dimensional beings, spider-like beings, AI-type beings, neon beings, alien beings, demonic beings, all different types of dimensional beings, let alone the dead ancestors. And you figure this planet is billions of years old, billions. And, it runs in about 26,000 year cycle. We just came to the beginning of the 26,000 year cycle on January 12th last year. So, we've had civilizations every 26,000 years. Imagine how many beings have been dead on this earth. We got houses on top of everybody.
Right. And it's almost like, what if you see an odd demon or a ghost, that was just maybe a civilization that was here long before mankind that died, and then now it's its ghost. You know what I mean? Like, what if a dimensional being is just a ghost of an old civilization that was here that's not human at all, like an extraterrestrial or something like that?
There's some theories that aliens are demons. They're called invisible terrestrial beings. They were discovered by the Santilli telescope in Rome. Dr. Santilli, working at the Vatican, built this telescope called the Santilli telescope and discovered, I think, 6 different invisible terrestrial beings, which are known as demons.
Damn, what kind of telescope was that?
Santilli. It's called the Santilli telescope.
Yeah, but it was just made of like special glass or something to where it could see,
I don't know.
pierce the veil.
I don't know that factoid.
That's pretty interesting.
Well.
That's really cool, though. Have you ever seen animal ghosts, like dog ghosts or something like that?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Yeah.
See, because that's something I would like the skill, just so I could see dinosaur ghosts. I think that would be cool as shit.
I've never seen a dinosaur ghost. Never, ever. But they're parallel dimensions walking through. And you might get like a big shift in your house, because that could be like where a big sound comes in your house or something. I'm just speculating.
Oh, and I'm just speculating too. I think that just dinosaur ghosts would be cool as shit,
I don't know. It's not easy. It's not an easy life to see the invisible, what others can't.
No, I would think it would be terrifying. I would not probably care for that at all. I don't think that we're really built to view those kinds of things, because you're probably pretty dialed into a lot of things that maybe we're not supposed to be, because it affects the life that you have.
I think we're all supposed to be able to access these abilities, but we're closed down off of it with predictive programming, TV, the way society makes these structures on what's correct, what's not correct, what's acceptable and what's not. I think we should. We all have it. You could be driving down the road, going to the store, to the supermarket, and something pops in your consciousness that says, hey, take that left and go that side route. And your brain takes over the claircognizance and says, oh, if I turn left there, I'm going to go 5 minutes out of my way. Why would I do that? And you just continue to go straight and then get in a traffic jam because there was a big pile up. So your supernatural abilities told you to turn left to avoid that car accident. So now you're stuck in the traffic jam waiting for the police to come and clear the accident, and you're 2 hours, 3 hours late for dinner if you didn't turn left.
Right, but do you think that it works in the same way? Because I've had this thought as well. It's funny that you even mentioned this, that like, let's say today I was in line at the grocery store and my wife called and said, hey, I need something, and I was already in line. I was ready to go, but I was like, of course, I'll just run back and get it for you. So I ran back and get it. Now, in the amount of time that it took, not only for me to run back and get that item, basically change my schedule or this predetermined route that I was on, maybe I avoided something that would have either killed me or hurt me severely or something like that, like a car wreck or something like that. And it's all of those little things. Whenever they happen like that, I never get twisted about it. I'm just like, oh, maybe there's a reason that, this delay occurred or something like that. And then, yes, just like you said, maybe if you took that turn, you would have been in that wreck.
Yeah. I mean, there's clairsentience, clairaudience. You can hear things that other people can't hear, smell things that other people can't smell. There's warning signals. Your dead ancestors could protect you. I mean, there's just so much about the supernatural. We'd have to, it'd be ludicrous to think that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I think it would be ludicrous. I don't know. I know there's so many people that don't believe in ghosts or supernatural abilities or telepathy or time travel or phenomenon like that, but
I love all of it. What do you think about mediums that help ghosts cross over? And what's interesting about, I think that the spirit and the living, or the dead and the living kind of a relationship is really interesting, because you will have instances to where spirits or ghosts or ancestors help you either avoid something bad or help you and protect you against anything. And then you've got cases to where the living have to aid the dead to move on as well. I think it's an interesting relationship that not enough people talk about.
Okay. I used to cross ghosts over. And I don't feel we have the right to. Now, I've died 5 times as an adult, like literally had to be resuscitated by doctors. So I've crossed over and had near-death experiences. I spent 5 days in a coma on life support with machines running, and things like that. I don't understand the afterlife. I don't have any right to send anyone anywhere. I will listen to that dead person's message. I will help clear their whatever message so they can choose where to go. It's not my right to send somebody someplace I don't even know. And I've had 5 near-death experiences just in my adult life. Now, I used to. I'm here to do what they do for me. Give me messages, help me avoid something, but they don't direct me to, they might give you a message to go a certain direction, but your free will changes in a split second, Brandon. So it would be the same way for somebody you're talking to that's on the other side, that's confused or discarnated or, not even knowing they're dead. A lot of times that's enough where you can explain to the spirit, okay, you're dead. You're not human anymore. You're transcended, and they'll magically vanish. Because my goosebumps talking about it.
So cool.
So they know what direction to go. I don't know what's happening to them. 5 different near-death experiences, and all 5 were different. So I'm not anybody over.
That was a question I had. I'd like to talk about your NDEs if you're comfortable doing so. Not about what put you in the state, but what happened at the moment of your soul's departing from this physical plane. So you said that 5 times, which that sucks, dude. I mean, in a very, very reductive way that I can be empathetic. That's horrible. But what happened the first time?
The first time was in the blizzard of 1996 here on the East Coast. It was the biggest blizzard ever. It shut down generators of hospitals. It was that bad. So I had an ectopic pregnancy the same time I had a baby in the womb and in the tube exploded, and I lost 9 pints of blood. And I went through that proverbial tunnel, the very famous Renaissance art of the tunnel, and angel tunnel, and you're met with your deceased loved one.
Yeah.
And my brother met me in the tunnel, and he pushed me out. And I wanted to go in the tunnel, but he forced me to sit on the floor of the hospital room while Dr. Favini was, shocking my heart, and cheering me, "Come on, Jolene, come on." And I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go back in my body. So I sat and played chess with what appeared to be my brother, who pushed me out. My earbuds are ready to die, Brandon.
I didn't get a very long charge out of these suckers.
They're probably working overtime.
All right. I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. So that was the first near-death experience, which a lot of people describe, right? They go through the tunnel. They meet their loved ones and what appear to look like your loved ones. And they will have identical characteristics of your loved ones, but there's just something about it that they're not your loved ones. They're just an image. I really can't speculate whether they are or aren't a specific person, but they're awfully close representation of your loved one. And so that was my first near-death experience. I lost 9 pints of blood, and I had to have transfusion. And what had happened to me was like a 1 in, 3 million women it happens to have a double pregnancy at the same time. So I had to have blood transfusion, and I finally went back into my body. And went back to that doctor and told him exactly what he was doing, working on me. And we sat and had lunch, and I thanked him for saving my life. So that was the first experience. And you want me to continue with my other experiences? Let me turn this other headset off. So the second experience, I was on a healing circuit, some very big names of people. And I was down in Florida, and there was some nefarious things going on at this conference. And several of us backed out of the conference. And without going into details, because this could be dangerous for me to talk about names and exactly what happened down there. But I was in Florida, and the weather in Florida. It's hot. It's hot. I died of hypothermia in Florida and woke up to the EMTs zapping my heart, with the paddles. So that near-death experience, I met the Grim Reaper. I met death, and death faced me. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. So when death came for me, it was kind of like when you're in sleep paralysis. I don't know if you know what that is. Sleep paralysis is when you're frozen and it feels like you're awake, but you're in a dream and you can't speak. You're frozen. And I couldn't get the words out of my mouth like that. And finally, I just took all of my will and screamed, "I am a child of God." And I woke up to the EMT jump in my heart. So that was the second one.
Damn.
Very different than the first one. There's a lot of black magic down there. The event took place during a very crucial ceremony of a very demonic force. And I'm not going to get into it because it could be very dangerous to talk about the people down there. The third near-death experience was in April of 2018, after I allowed an abuser back in my life. I had been so worn down from the last circuit I was speaking on. character assassinated, destroyed by my colleagues and their cult following. And I was suffering insomnia, and I had allowed an ex back in. And when you're involved in domestic violence and psychological manipulation and trauma like that, I was very weakened. And I don't really remember much, but my abuser at the time watched me for 3 days slowly stop breathing. The only thing I could really remember, I'm not a drinker, but I went out and I bought 2 bottles because I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. And I went out and bought 2 bottles of wine. And apparently I drank the 2 bottles of wine, and I downed a bottle of pills. I was so desperate and so psychologically manipulated out of truth, out of choice, out of my words, out of my feelings, and not sleeping, hallucinating. So I ended up in a coma. It was amazing how I got saved. If it wasn't for a girlfriend insisting she come to my home, why the person didn't want her there, was trying to prevent her from coming. He ended up fleeing as she pulled in and broke the door down and called 911. And by that time, they were doing CPR on me until the EMT came. And then I was in a coma. I was in a coma for 5 days.
Jesus.
And I was on life support. I had breathing machines. And I was in between 2 worlds. A world beneath me that was pastel neon color and gridded and gatekeepers and traps. And I was in this black void, and this world above me that was almost identical to the one below me, but it was flowing like the toroidal. Do you ever see that toroidal? Looks like a donut.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful above me, but below me was fucked up. It was my goosebumps. But I was in the black void, and I was just at the 0 and the 9, I call it, the no thing, the nothing, the no thing. I was just no thing. And I had a DNR order because I was really sick. When you live in domestic violence, your physiology deteriorates. So I had a DNR. I had already had several heart attacks and things like that, and I was suffering from seizures and all kinds of physical ailments from psychological manipulation and trauma abuse. And, so I had this DNR order, and the hospital staff told my daughter, you have to make the choice. And she chose to execute my DNR. And, this is what I was told. Like, as soon as they turned off the machines and pulled the tube from my throat, I woke up and shocked the whole staff. So I shouldn't have even lived through that. I was brain dead. I was on machines, and I miraculously woke up. And 12 days I saw in neon colors. And I actually have pictures on my Facebook I drew of the new creatures that I see to this day. New creatures, invisible terrestrial beings.
As a result of that near-death experience, you were able to perceive them now? Interesting.
Yeah. And they're terrifying. They're like creepy crawler things that go on walls, and these sort of spider octopus things that go in the back of people's necks and latch on. It's just, I have them drawn on my Facebook post, but on Facebook picture albums.
Yeah, which I will link. I'll link to your Facebook in the show notes as well.
On the 12th day, I was laying in bed with my cat, and it was like a big paddle, like, because I've had the paddles on my heart, and especially in Florida. It was like somebody took paddles and jump started my heart. And even my cat kind of jumped, like we both jumped on the bed. And then I saw normal again. I wasn't seeing in neon anymore. So I had that documented. And the last two near-death experiences, I have no recollection, none. So I was non-existent. I can't tell you what happened on any side of death. I had adrenal failure in August of 2018 from the post-traumatic stress disorder from 20 years of abuse. And your organs shut down, when you're in trauma. Although you don't know it. You don't know it's called PTSD. You don't really even realize it's so abusive because you're a shell of a person. You've been talked out of your rights, your feelings, your voice, your choice, your identity. And it's almost like you learned it as a kid. You learn it as a kid. So you don't know it's really, you know something's wrong, but you don't realize that you're the factor there that needs to get out. And the PTSD was so bad, it was complex by that time. Because when you're gaslit for 20 years, you break down. So my organs failed. I had renal and, it's called adrenal failure. I had renal failure and liver failure, and I died. And I wasn't found for 4 days. I was found laying on the floor in the bathroom, and all the blood pooled on the left side of my body. And I had the creatinine levels of a dead person. So my partner at the time, my person, the mate, he refused to take me to the hospital. My daughter came and then took me, and they were shocked that I was even awake to have these creatinine levels of a dead man. And then I died at the hospital, and I woke up in another hospital. And it took, I woke up in a rehabilitation hospital because I was, paralyzed on the left side of my body from all the blood pooling and the adrenal and liver and kidney failure. And it was intense. I was in rehabilitation to just get the feeling back in my leg. I didn't know if I was going to lose my left foot or my left hand for many, many, many months. And at that time, I was being forced out of my home and, going through terrible things in my marriage at the time, forced out of my home, and found out I was written off of a deed, and it just was a nightmare. So I don't have any recollection of that near-death experience. It just was, I wasn't there anymore. There was no consciousness, nothing. And so I can't really tell you that, there's 4 different experiences just crossing over. And my 5th near-death experience was the same as the last one. Just zero, nothing, no consciousness, nothing to tell you. I didn't exist.
It's interesting that you've had such variant experiences with near death. Number one, that you've had so damn many of them. Number two, that you're still with us. I'm glad. And then number three, that you've had such a difference. And this is the thing about the near death experience that fascinates me, is how you'll get a few different interpretations, and it's almost like whatever happens to you after death, you choose, or it's a choice as far, even an unconscious one, until you realize that you're dead, and then you figure it out. It may be something to where what you expect to happen after death, as far as seeing loved ones, as far as the tunnel of light, these things will occur because you manifest them on some level in this extra dimensional reality. Once your spirit has left this vessel, just this ride that we're riding on right now, this avatar, and we get into the other side. But you ran the gamut. You had the tunnel with the loved one. You had the Grim Reaper, which sounds fucking terrifying. You had the vision of the the donut-shaped environment, the tortoise with heaven and hell above you. And then the last stage is what atheists believe, that nothing happens after you die, and that it just stops, and that it just lights out. So what do you think occurs? What do you think this is all about? I mean, do you think that there is a heaven and a hell? Do you think that there's a price to be paid in an afterlife for decisions that you made in life? And another point to that question would be, if spirits can affect us in life and make us not only, they can ride on us and give us bad energy, or they can suck your spirit a little bit, and they can actually perturb or make you do things unconsciously. Is it then maybe cosmically fair that there is a good or a bad place to go, and that you don't just return to source if so many things are out of your control that determine your afterlife?
There's a couple of theories I have. Like, I believe it's one of my theories is, what are your beliefs at the time it happens? What are those beliefs? Do you believe in heaven or hell? Do you believe in that tunnel? How were you raised? So when you have your first near-death experience, I was raised by Roman Catholics, and I had always believe that you go through a tunnel. So did I have the tunnel experience because that was my belief? The one in Florida, did I have that experience because there was such satanic shit going on down there that I met the fucking Grim Reaper? The third one, I was pretty much a spiritual badass in the gnosis level, the knowledge level of understanding. How do I put it? Like, understanding, not really completely, we'll never completely understand the death and life cycle of a human being, but somewhat understanding the Ouroboros of the completion. And I had been so psychologically tortured that I wanted to die. I wanted to go to the 0 and the 9. And there I was in between the two worlds, in a 0 and the 9, with the consciousness intact. And the fourth and the fifth one, they just happened so fast. There was just no pre-thinking to it. So was that my experience because there was no pre-thinking that about anything, that I had no experience? I mean, I'm certainly a believer in the soul and the spirit and afterlives and dimensions, but I was at a place of not existing. So I don't know how to answer that. But in Gnosticism, the ancients believed that that this planet, like the Earth, is it's like I think I wrote something down. Let me see if I wrote something down about that. Let me see. Hold on a second.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. They believed that Sophia, Earth, she is the sister of the Christos. So the creator, created the Christos and Sophia. And Sophia came boring through the universe, and she wanted to create for herself. So she created almost, and what did I write? Sanity was banished from the Pistis Sophia, and the demiurge was created. So they, like the ancients, believed that Earth is hell. Like, you have to unlock hell to get out. And that's why they use astrology to unlock the keys of key Sophia. And there's so many different theories. I don't know what to think. I mean, I have literally lived 55 years of hell. I continue to live an extraordinarily difficult life. It's not that it's not a happy life. I live a badass life. I have more control over it now. But I do believe that, in a lot of it is There's so many theories, Brandon. There's theories that were in a matrix. There's theories that were computer games. There's theories that were in pods, hooked up to play these games for outside players. I can't even speculate, and I've been dead 5 times. I will never be able to answer that question, regardless of how many fucking books I read, how many ancient scriptures I read. And I've been reading ancient scribes since I've been 8, since I've started reading Plato at 8. I don't know how to answer that. I really don't.
And I don't think anybody knows for sure. I just think that I was just curious about what your thoughts on it, or what you could speculate. I mean, this show we speculate wildly. You're welcome to. I love the simulated reality theory, and I can't go one episode without talking about it. So the fact you brought it up is just consistent with the show. So thank you. But it also seems like you've had so many, again, near-death experiences, and you've had such different experiences each time that it would throw you for a loop. Even if you had like 2 that were the same or very similar, but most people only have one near-death experience before the actual one, if at all, if they have a near-death experience at all. So the fact you've had so many, and the fact that they have been different, is what's so interesting about this. You know what I mean? It's horrible what happened to you. And I think that you do live a solid life of struggle, an exceptional life, but an exceptional life of exceptional struggle. And I hate that for you on a humanitarian level, because I just want everybody's lives to be great. I do think, though, on a deep level, we kind of choose our paths at some point, in some way, and that you've chosen a life of struggle so that you can come out of it more superiorly later. And maybe
so I could teach others how to navigate through chaos, how to expand past that reality, right? And bypass a lot of the fuckery that I had to learn myself. So if I was met with fuckery 10 years ago and similar today, I'm going to handle that fuckery a whole lot better than I did 10 years ago. So I can teach my clients and my supporting audience how to do it as well. And I have my biggest theory that I live with right now is that if you can live a life of being so real, so authentic, standing in ethics, morals, virtues, values, and stand by that, not the 10 commandments, so to speak, but somewhat like a commandment thing, right? But valor, virtue, ethics, morality. And you can stand in that blade of truth, regardless of how you're mistreated, bullied, chastised, punished, ridiculed, outcasted. That's where I believe you not only transcend as a human into an evolutionary spiritual badass, but that's where I believe you can transcend out of the fucking matrix.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
I love it. I think that's great. I think that's perfect. And I love too, in one of your videos, you said you turn fuckery into luckery. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You've got such great sayings. Like, you have so many cool sayings. I love that you call everybody gods and goddesses. I love just the positivity that you bring to it. And you've got just such a unique vernacular and a unique way of talking about stuff. And I think it's great. I think it's charming.
But these were all the things I've been faulted on, crushed over, told I was wrong, told it's embarrassing, told I shouldn't do this, told I should do that. It was a difficult thing when you're raised being broken all the time for your greatness. You don't believe it's greatness. So the very first video I put out, because this is new to me doing videos, it's the very first time I listened to my own YouTube and watched myself, I broke down bawling. I had to pick up the phone and call a girlfriend and say, oh my God, do I really sound that smart? Am I really funny like that? Or am I, am I having is that really me? Or do I have a split personality? And she just started laughing and she said, that's who you've always been.
Yeah.
For the 20 years I've known you, welcome to you. And all the things that I've been punished for, blamed, ridiculed, they're like, I'm proud of who I am.
You should be.
I love who I am.
You should be. Fuck those people.
I love being funny and making these funny words, and
it's so great. Give me a couple of your favorites. I love the fuckery and deluckery, and I don't know if you just have any organically on you, because they do flow out very naturally. It's like a scripted thing that you have, but they just happen. And your videos are great. They're a lot of fun. You're hilarious, and you do bring a lot of joy. I mean, I'm telling you, my wife and I watch them. We think that you're wonderful. So I think
it's like it's all improv.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I don't plan any of it. If I get a good moment, like keep Uranus and your Mars in check. I mean, I've never been told I'm funny before.
You're very funny. Well, you're hearing it now, and you're very funny. Yeah.
I don't know. I coined the term fuckery a long time ago, and now it's like a common word. I should do memes or something and copyright them with these strange terminologies.
You should totally do it. Just have these things spread out all over the place. Just make them, because you're hilarious. You've got, like I said, just guys, go watch her videos. She is fantastic. And again, a few of my friends actually have, and they love you. When I teach a class or something, if I teach tyrant talking tactics or something, I teach to use funny terms when you're learning to talk, let's say with your daughter or something, you're trying to break the generations of toxic abuse. So the empath and the narcissist share identical traits. So I've come up with terms like titty twister, if somebody's gaslighting or, twisting words. We have red flag, white flag, black flag. We use these funny things so it's not so traumatizing to heal through and think you're perpetually broken when you're just a human being that's been raised in a tyrannical rule set society that's based on quieting the truth, quieting emotions, quieting anger, quieting talking about uncomfortable things. Like I said in the beginning, you can easily call out an enemy, but you can't so easily call out a friend or a parent or a lover or a child or your BFF. This is why I think we have people, and I say this quite a bit, actually. You need to surround yourself with good people. And what I mean by that is you need to surround yourself with people that are honest with you, and they will honestly tell you what they think. I think that that's a very valuable thing. I've got 4 brothers, and so we give each other shit and break each other's balls all the time. We will call each other out on dumb shit that we do, and it's good. It's for the benefit. We're not breaking each other down. It's just a way of highlighting something that you're doing that is fucking stupid, let's be honest. And you need to surround yourselves with good friends that say, dude, that sucks. Don't do that. Why are you doing that? And I don't think, I think a lot of people are scared to do that. Like you said, it's a lot of bravery in it. We don't think about it because it's just the way we grew up. It's just, we just give each other shit and we make each other better for it.
The human being is naturally defensive, and they've been taught it's wrong to have something pointed out, and most people will deny it. So the first thing is defensiveness, and the second is denial. The third is to manipulate your words. The fourth is to cast the blame on the other person for calling out the fault. I was raised with 3 other siblings, and my 2 siblings have died. So they were the ones I could talk to. And my other sibling is, I call it DARVO, D-A-R-V-O, direct and reverse the victim to the offender. So I can't speak to her about her bad behavior because she'll follow those formulas of denying, defensiveness, denying, twisting the words, and throwing the blame back on me instead of her behavior. So I wasn't raised in healthy, and the 2 healthy people that I was raised are dead. And a lot of families, Brandon, everybody I work with, they don't have healthy families like you do. They don't have that healthy dynamic with parents or with siblings. So they've learned that behavior. It's a learned helplessness. They're not learned and skilled in healthy relationships. You can take a healthy person, and they may not know how to communicate. They may have that natural defensiveness to it. And a lot of people do. I did too.
Sure.
We all do.
Yeah.
So when you can learn to defrag off that fuse of defensiveness and just listen, even if it's uncomfortable, you can have healthy only if they can communicate effectively, if they can take responsibility, if they can humble. Again, virtues, morals, ethics, values. I got volumes on my bookshelf of ethics and virtue, books on ethics, books on virtues, books on etiquette. And my natal chart is just filled with, things of why that's so important to me, speaking truth and communicating effectively. I've been trying to communicate effectively since I've been 8 years old. You know what I mean? Trying to communicate effectively with not so healthy people. And even the ones that are loving and kind, good-natured, they will follow those identical formulas to the unhealthy people because they do not know how to communicate effectively.
Absolutely. So what is some advice that you've got for folks out there listening? If they've just trying to figure out their next move, there just some great general advice that you come across. It's pretty standard. It's something that you feel everybody should know, but probably not a lot of people do.
Well, the first is you're human. You're a human being that's allowed to feel this negative stuff, anger, rage, frustration. You're allowed to be angry at mistreatment. You're allowed to express anger and not feel guilty over it. So I always say, don't feel bad for feeling bad. You're human. You're allowed to feel bad. You're allowed to talk about how bad you feel because society has taught you that that's bad for feeling bad. Shame on you for feeling resentment. Shame on you. So don't feel bad for feeling bad would be the first thing. The second is to acknowledge that you're human first and foremost. We're here on a planet in these human bodies. Be human and chase being safe as human as you are. Feel safe as your human self, regardless of what stage of life you're in, whether you're a baby awakening, a newbie awakening, whether you're fucked up, whether you have bad love, whatever. Feel safe being you. Feel safe being you. That the progression of healing is a lifetime thing. So never be perfected. So feel safe being you, regardless of what people think of you, would be the third piece. Feel safe being you, regardless of people's, I use an acronym called CRAPLB, CRAPALB. Okay. Feel safe being you, regardless of people's criticism towards you, people's rejection, people's abandoning you, people punishing you, people attacking you, people lying to you or lying about you, and people blaming you. Feel safe being you, regardless of the CRAPLB. And the last piece of advice I would say is you can distrust anything outside of you. You can distrust how messed up the world is, the evil, elite control, the narcissism, the fuckery. You can distrust all of that. But the moment you distrust your beautiful, badass self, that's the lie. That's a damn lie.
See, I love it. I love this. You're just so great. You're just awesome.
Too. Thank you. I'm humble.
You are so cool. You're so much fun.
There was a time I couldn't take a compliment. A little less than 3 short years ago, I didn't know how to take a compliment.
Well, you're on the wrong show.
That would be a good piece of advice. If somebody gives you a compliment, just say thank you.
Yeah,
just
thanks.
Say thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, yes, and you're on the wrong show if you don't want compliments, because I think you're wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandon.
And definitely we will be doing this again. So we had some other things that you and I had talked about talking about, but I think we should save it. I think that we have had an awesome episode. And I think that the information that we've gotten here is not only insightful, and it's going to definitely make people want to research this further. And I think that the other things that we had planned on, I'm just going to look forward to in a future episode if you'll take the invite.
I would be honored. I'm so honored, and I'm excited to to grow with you and learn with you and connect and network with you. I'm honored. Thank you for embracing me. That's new to me. So I've been outcasted for so long. It's very unique that people embrace me.
Well, no longer.
So thank you for embracing me.
You've only and all you did was wait that long, 55 years, to be embraced and loved, because now you are. And we just want to thank you so much.
To feel safe being myself, finally.
That's it. And that's kind of something that I figured out about myself a long time ago. If I know one thing about myself, that's my job here on this plane. It's to give people back to themselves. I'm not saying I did that in your case. I'm just saying that is, I know my true calling is to just give people back to themselves. Just let them realize it's all just a ride. It's light. Have fun with it. It's your life. You're supposed to be living it up and experiencing it. Don't live it the way somebody else tells you to. That's their thing, and just you do your thing. You do you, boo boo. That's a new thing you should start saying.
You know
do
what?
You, boo boo.
Can I give the biggest piece of advice?
Please.
Chase your dreams.
Yeah, follow your star.
Chase your dreams.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to dream big.
Massive dreams. There's a cool saying that I heard a long time ago, and it's not that your goals are too high and you're missing them. It's that they're too low and you're hitting them.
Ooh.
I know. That's some deep shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not mine, but I like it. So it's basically like just dream big, dream massive. I mean, what's stopping you? You're the only obstacle in your way. Because what is that saying? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So just think you can. Go for it. That is so cool. Well, please, everybody message JoJo for me and tell her how wonderful and sweet she is. Now that she's accepting compliments in her inbox, then you guys can do that.
Come visit me on the Spiritual Badass, my YouTube channel, and I'm starting to form other media outlets of Patreon, Telegram, Vimeo, and I could certainly, if anybody out there is looking for some tech work, hit me up on Facebook. And if you want an appointment with me for a 2-hour tarot or astrology or some mentorship, so you too can become a spiritual badass, from traumatized to triumphant, broken to brilliant, rags to riches, or fearful to motherfucking fears. I teach tyrant talking tactics, fraud finding facts, taking the gas out of gaslighting, and how to catch a thief. I would love to come work with me. Hit me up through Facebook or join my YouTube channel and subscribe.
Absolutely, and I will be linking both of those in the show notes. You guys, please go check her out. She is absolutely fantastic, and we're so grateful to have you on. You're just awesome.
So much
you are a spiritual badass. You're a badass also, but a spiritual badass too.
You're a badass too. Like, your listening audience, you're all badasses, gods and goddesses. I welcome you into the spiritual badass family. Thanks for embracing me as your spiritual badass family too, Brother Brandon.
Absolutely.
I had fun.
Absolutely, me too. So thank you. So don't hang up. But I just wanted to thank you again for coming on, and we will talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Expanding Reality. That was Jo Seebacher. All the ways that you can find her will be in the show notes down there. If you want to find the show, we are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and then you can email the show at expandingrealitypodcast@gmail.com. Any questions or comments, please direct them there. Thank y'all so much for listening, and you guys be good to one another.
Grandma, can I have the chocolate chips?
This secret recipe moment made possible by Emory Heart and Vascular Center. When Grandma needed heart care, she came to Emory. The difference? Emory Healthcare performs more heart procedures annually than anyone else in Georgia, which means better outcomes for our patients. And we offer advanced and personalized treatments developed by our top specialists that others don't. Like Grandma knows, where you start your heart care matters. Smart Cookie. EmoryHealthcare.org/smartcookie.